So far, we have read two suttas about the aggregates. The first one is the 4 paces. The next one is the catechism, which means the instructions on the aggregates, what to do with the aggregates. Today, we are going to read the 3 short suttas of the aggregates. The first one for today, the characteristic of non-self. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Varanasi, in the deer park at Isipatana. There, the Blessed One addressed the monks of the group of 5. Thus, monks. Venerable Sir, those monks replied. The Blessed One said this: monks, form is non-self. For if monks form was self, this form will not lead to affliction, and it would be possible to determine form. Let my form be thus, let my form not be thus, but because form is non-self, form leads to affliction, and it is not possible to determine form. Let my form be thus, let my form not be thus. That's number 31. Oops. This is the second discourse of the Buddha, according to the narrative of the Buddha's teaching career at Wind. The 5 bhikkhus are the first 5 disciples, who at this point are still trainees, Sekha. The Buddha's purpose in teaching this discourse is to lead them to arahantship. So all the 5 disciples are already at least a stream enterer. But the Buddha would like to accelerate their progress. The Buddha expound this to lead them all the way to arahantship. Footnotes number 32. The sutta offers 2 arguments for the thesis of non-self. The first contends that the aggregates are non-self on the ground that we cannot exercise mastery over them. Since we cannot bend the aggregates to our will, they are all subject to affliction and therefore cannot be considered ourself. The second argument, introduced just below, posits the characteristics of non-self on the basis of the other 2 characteristics. Whatever is impermanent is in some way bound up with suffering. Whatever is impermanent, bound up with suffering, cannot be identified as ourself. So let's take a look again. We cannot bend the aggregates to our will. They're subject to affliction. We cannot exercise mastery over them. Take example, form, the easiest one because we can see, we can touch. For example, let's say my hair starts to gray, yeah? And then I would like to blacken my hair just with a wheel, yeah? At wheel. Suddenly all my hair become black. So I can't do that, except if I go and buy, maybe hair color, the color black, and then I have to dye all my hair again. Yes. And another example, pretty common. Let's say if a pimple pops up, and then I look in the mirror, oh no, another pimple. And then I want to, okay, let the pimple go away. Can't do that as well. So I can't exercise mastery over my form. Recently, I feel like I'm getting fat as well. So I want to, at will, I want to have a 6-packs. Not possible. I have to eat well, I have to sleep well, I have to exercise, so I can be healthy again. So I can still get my form, but I can't do that at will. Just with a snap of a finger, and then six-pack body. So that is what is the first argument of non-self. We can't exercise mastery over that. Yeah, we have to put in many causes and conditions to get to probably get the form that we want, and it's not even guaranteed. I recall one article. It was pretty tragic. 20-something years old lady. She was in the photo of the news. She was already very, at least, very pretty according to the current beauty standard. But she still went to some kind of clinic to do some kind of liposuction so that she looks slimmer just before her wedding. But from the picture, when I see that, that's a really, I would say, healthy body figure already. Yeah, so she went to go to liposuction. But after the liposuction, something tragic happened. She passed away after because of that liposuction. And so even if we try to morph the form, it's not guaranteed that we will get it, even if we try to put in all the causes and conditions. So that is the first argument. We can't determine form. We can't let my form be thus, let my form not be thus. That is what is meant in the sutta. Okay, Sister Chai Guan, would you like to continue?
Feeling is non-self. Perception is non-self. Volitional formations are non-self. Consciousness is non-self. For if, monks, consciousness were self, this consciousness would not lead to affliction, and it would be possible to determine consciousness. Let my consciousness be thus, let my consciousness not be thus. But because consciousness is non-self, consciousness leads to affliction, and it is not possible to determine consciousness. Let my consciousness be thus, let my consciousness not be thus. What do you think, monks? Is form permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Venerable Sir. What is impermanent, suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent, suffering and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine. This I am. This is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Is feeling permanent or impermanent? Is perception permanent or impermanent? Are volitional formations permanent or impermanent? Is consciousness permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent, suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent, suffering and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine. This I am. This is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sister Chai Guan. Okay. Now, this is the second argument explained in the footnotes. Firstly, just now I used the example of form, but the first argument also applies to all the other four aggregates: feeling, perception, volitional formation, and consciousness. So we can't exercise mastery over any of the aggregates. Now here, the second argument is actually a series of 3 questions, which I like a lot. So the one highlighted in yellow, the Buddha starts with the first question: is form permanent or impermanent? So let's take a look at our body. Is our body permanent or impermanent? So all of us know someday this body will break up, will pass away. So we, the monks answer, impermanent, Venerable Sir. Then the second question, the follow-up question, and it's what is impermanent? Suffering or happiness? if we base our happiness on what is impermanent, when that thing will eventually become impermanent in the future, is it happiness or is it suffering? The monk says the suffering for them also. Then the last question is, what is impermanent? Suffering, subject to change, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this is I am, this is myself. No, Venerable Sir. And that is how the conclusion leads to non-self with a series of questions. I like the other, if you read other translations, sometimes you will see, is what is impermanent suffering and subject to change worthy to be regarded as self? Yeah. I like the word worthy here because let's say if you regard this thing as self, then of course it will lead to suffering. If it leads to suffering, then how can it be worthy to be regarded as self, as something fixed, as an identity? So again, this applies to not just form, but all the other 5 aggregates: feeling, perception, volitional formations, consciousness. Sister Saikyam, would you like to continue?
Therefore, monks, any kind of form whatsoever, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all form should be seen as it really is, with correct wisdom thus. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. Any kind of feeling whatsoever, any kind of perception whatsoever, any kind of volitional formations whatsoever, any kind of consciousness whatsoever, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all consciousness should be seen as it really is, with correct wisdom thus. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. Seeing thus, monks, the instructed noble disciple becomes disenchanted with form, disenchanted with feeling, disenchanted with perception, disenchanted with volitional formations, disenchanted with consciousness. Becoming disenchanted, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge. It's liberated. He understands. Destroyed its birth. The spiritual life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There's no more coming back to any state of being. That is what the Blessed One said. Elated, those monks delighted in the Blessed One's statement. And while this discourse was being spoken, the minds of the monks of the group of 5 were liberated from the taints of non-clinging. From Samyutta Nikaya 22:59. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Just the second discourse, the disciples already become Arahant. Well, meanwhile, we read the Dharma for our whole life. We're still here. Okay, I think this is a pretty good sutta, important sutta about non-self. Any questions or comments before we continue? If not, Sister Shromi, yes.
Sorry, before we go on, can I ask, some books has not self. Is there a difference between non-self versus not self?
That's a good question. I recall there's an essay differentiating between non-self and no self. But non-self and not self, I'm not too sure.
Okay, never mind. I just wanted to raise to confirm that I'm not the only one who may be confused by this or who may not have the answer to this. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to find the essay, the talking about non-self and no self kind of thing. Anyway, would Sister Shomi like to continue reading?
Impermanent suffering, non-self. Monks, form is impermanent. What is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self. What is non-self should be seen as it really is with correct wisdom. Thus, this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. When one sees this thus as it really is with correct wisdom, the mind becomes dispassionate and is liberated from the taints by non-clinging. Feeling is impermanent. Perception is impermanent. Volitional formations are impermanent. Consciousness is impermanent. What is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self. What is non-self should be seen as it really is with correct wisdom. Thus, this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. When one sees this thus as it really is with correct wisdom, the mind becomes dispassionate and is liberated from taints by non-clinging. If a monk's mind has become dispassionate towards the form element, it is liberated from the taints by non-clinging. If his mind has been dispassionate towards the feeling element, towards the perception element, towards the volitional formations element, towards the consciousness element, it is liberated from the taints by non-clinging.
Okay. Thanks, Sister Shomi. This is another sutta. The aggregates are impermanent, and then what is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self, and therefore we should see the aggregates as it really is. This is not mine, this is I am not, this is not myself. And then we should become dispassionate towards the five aggregates. Okay, Sister Shomi, can you continue? Just finish the sutta. Sorry.
By being liberated, it is steady. By being steady, it is content. By being content, he is not agitated. Being unagitated, he personally attains Nibbana. He understands destroyed despair. The spiritual life has been lived. What had to be done had been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being.
Okay, thanks, Sister Shomi. Sadhu. Okay, thanks, Sister Shomi. Okay, the next sutta, Sister Aikim, would you like to continue?
A lump of foam. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Ayodhya on the bank of the river Ganges. There the Blessed One addressed the monks thus: Monks, suppose that this river Ganges was carrying along a great lump of foam. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a lump of foam? So too, monks, whatever kind of foam there is, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a monk inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in form? Suppose, do I read this?
Yeah, yes.
Suppose, monks, that in the autumn when it is raining and big raindrops are falling. A water bubble arises and bursts on the surface of the water. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it. And it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a water bubble? So too, monks, whatever kind of feeling there is, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a monk inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in feeling?
Okay, thanks, Sister Ake. Here, form is compared to a lump of foam. Footnote number 33. SPK, the commentary explains at length how form, the body, is like a lump of foam, Fena Pinta. I give merely the highlights, as a lump of foam lacks any substance, Sara. So form lacks any substance that is permanent, stable, or self, as the lump of foam is full of holes and fissures and the abode of many creatures. So too form, as the lump of foam, after expanding, breaks up, so does form, which is pulverized in the mouth of death. Then, a water bubble. A water bubble is compared to feelings. Footnote number 34. The commentary SPK, a bubble, bubula, is feeble and cannot be grasped, for it breaks up as soon as it is seized. So too, feeling is feeble and cannot be grasped as permanent and stable, as a bubble rises and ceases in a drop of water and does not last long. So too with feeling, billions of feelings arise and cease in the time of a finger snap. As a bubble arises in dependence on conditions, so feeling arises in dependence on a sense base, an object, the defilements, and contact. That's the explanation by the commentary. Sister Billy, would you like to continue?
Suppose, monks, that in the last month of the hot season, at high noon, a shimmering mirage appears. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a mirage? So too, monks, whatever kind of perception there is, whatever past, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a monk inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in perception? Shall I read on, or?
You can continue, yes.
Okay. Suppose, monks, that a man needing hardwood, seeking hardwood, wandering in search of hardwood, would take a sharp axe and enter a forest. There he would see the trunk of a large banana tree, straight, fresh, without a fruit bud core. He would cut it down to the root, cut off the crown, and unroll the coil. As he unrolls the coil, he would not find even softwood, let alone hardwood. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it will appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in the trunk of a banana tree? So too, monks, whatever kind of volitional formations there are, whether past, future, or present, internal or external,
gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a monk inspects them, ponders them, and carefully investigates them. As he investigates them, they appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. But what substance could there be in volitional formations?
Okay, thanks, Sister.
Thank you.
The next aggregate is compared to a mirage. Perception is compared to a mirage. Footnote number 35. SPK, the commentary, perception is like a mirage, maricika, in the sense that it is insubstantial, for one cannot grasp a mirage to drink or bathe or feel a picture. As a mirage deceives the multitude, so does perception, which entices people with the idea that the colorful object is beautiful, pleasurable, and permanent. So that is how perception is compared to a mirage. The next one is a hardwood. Let me highlight this. Volitional formations is compared to the search of a hardwood, footnote number 36. Banana trunk commentary is actually compared to a banana trunk, not a hardwood. Let me highlight this. As a banana trunk, Kadali Kanda is an assemblage of many sheaths, each with its own characteristic. So the aggregate of volitional formations is an assemblage of many phenomena, each with its own characteristic. Okay, and the last aggregate, suppose monks that a magician or magician's apprentice would display a magical illusion at a crossroads. A man with good sight will inspect it, ponder it, carefully investigate it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a magical illusion? So too, monks, whatever kind of consciousness there is, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a monk inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it. And it will appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in consciousness? Footnote number 37. The commentary SPK, consciousness is like a magical illusion, Maya, in the sense that it is insubstantial and cannot be grasped. Consciousness is even more transient and fleeting than a magical illusion, for it gives the impression that a person comes and goes, stands and sits with the same mind, but the mind is different in each of these activities. Consciousness deceives the multitude like a magical illusion. In the Buddha's time, there are already magicians, and the Buddha has already seen through them. All of you are just illusions. So David Copperfield, it's all fake one, the Buddha says. Seeing thus, monks that instruct the noble disciple becomes disenchanted with form, disenchanted with feeling, disenchanted with perception, disenchanted with volitional formation, disenchanted with consciousness. Becoming disenchanted, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge. It's liberated. He understands, destroyed his birth. The spiritual life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being. Samyutta Nikaya 2295. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With that, we have finished reading all the suttas, at least in this book, about the 5 aggregates. Next time, we will continue with the 6 sense bases. Anything you'd like to add before we end the session today? If not, would someone like to do the dedication? Who was it?
OK，愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。May we be guided by the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Have a selfless Thursday ahead. Thanks everyone. See you guys next time.